Let's welcome our next guest, Doug Ferris. Doug started his career in the early 1990s at New York Life, where he was named Rookie of the Year. From there, he moved to Prudential Financial before co-founding Key Advisors Group in Lewis, Delaware in the year 2000. Since then, his firm has helped hundreds of hardworking Americans meet their retirement goals using sound, personalized financial strategies geared toward protection and income. Doug, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dave. Good to be here. I loved your sports analogy.
Well, and for someone who coaches high school football, tell us, aren't there a lot of tie-ins between sports and coaching football to coaching people on how to invest their money?
Oh, there absolutely is. I mean, that's really what we do every day is we coach people. And, I actually love that word as a matter of fact, too. And,
Sure.
we want to look at ourselves more as coaches and advisors, versus the standard stockbroker stigma for sure. But yes, absolutely. We're very much into the coaching of our clients.
So, it's funny. You could be ahead by 4 touchdowns, 2 minutes left, and, the offensive side gets the ball, and they still want to throw the ball down the field, and they still want to they want to win by 5 touchdowns. So you need to sit there and tell them, whoa, time out, guys. Time out, guys. We're going to do some running plays. I don't want to see that ball leave your hands. But isn't it
Absolutely.
Isn't that same urge true with a lot of investors that you talk to on a regular basis? They have so much fun racking up that score that it's hard to make that shift from offense to defense?
No question about it. And unfortunately, it's a normal humanistic. It's nature is what it is, and it's greed. And I hate to use that word, but there's a little bit of greed out there as the markets continue to climb over the years. We have this obsession with just thinking that the markets are going to continue to grow each and every year. And you and I both know that that just is not going to happen. And we've got to be able to coach them properly and at least have our eyes open for the downturn of the markets. And as you like to say, Dave, is get defensive. I think that plays a huge role in anybody's portfolio that's over the age of 50.
So Doug, we have about 20 seconds left in this block. How do you psychologically help people through that change?
Well, I make sure they understand that, and I'll ask them this question: can you afford to lose X amount of percentage or X amount of dollars out of that portfolio? And if the market does collapse or even has a short collapse, how are you going to react to that? So I like to coach them by asking them that question, and they pretty much answer their own question. And of course, that helps us lead into some type of defensive
Just
position.
like a good psychotherapist, right? They don't tell you anything. They just ask you questions. The answers are within all of us. Stay with us, Doug, and you stay with us too. We'll be right back here on The Income Generation. Welcome back to Income Generation. You're here with David Scranton and Doug Ferris from the great town of Delaware.
Yes.
Actually, Doug, I'm sorry. I just offended.
Delaware is a state, Dave.
I know I probably just offended, 60, 70,000 people all at the same time, and I apologize for that. That's not very nice of me. I'm just kidding. So, it's interesting because you're in a similar market to me. I'm in Connecticut, so you're only one of 2 states smaller than Connecticut, so I get to pick on you a little bit. But, when people come to see you, they're nervous. Are they nervous about the markets right now, or are they confident? Are they confident that the president's going to be able to push this economy to the next level?
I got to say we do have a mixed bag of both, but I do want to tell you that if they're not nervous about the market, we're not here to make them nervous about the market, but we certainly want to educate them that there's an opportunity, unfortunate, that they may lose a lot if they're heavily invested in the market. So I think it's a mixed bag of both at this point.
So it's really not whether the market's going up or down. It's really that, look, if you can't afford to lose it, play defense, not offense. Period, the end, common sense.
Absolutely.
So, okay, what kinds of strategies do you typically recommend for your clients that are part of the income generation, that are 50 and over, let's say within 10 years of retirement? What types of things?
Well, obviously, it comes down to really doing a very, very good fact finder and understanding the client's needs and wants. Not only current needs and wants, but possibly future needs and wants as well. And then once we determine what type of assets that they actually have, we look to put a certain percentage of those assets into a defensive position, whereas if the market does have a huge turn down or even a slight turn down, they're not going to participate in this turn down of the market itself. And again, so why take the chance and why take the risk if they can't afford to lose it? And that's really how we look at this.
And not to mention the fact that, in the last two drops, a lot of people felt like they were victimized by the stock market and maybe some by the insiders of Wall Street. Well, the reality is this, by putting some money in conservative things, next time the market drops, they can become capitalists. They've got money in more conservative stuff. They can shift into the market and take advantage of the fact that it's on sale at that point. Do you talk about that a lot with people, as I do?
We sure do, Dave. And, it always brings me back to, unfortunately, 2008. I can remember watching the television and seeing these folks that are really going through an unfortunate time. But I remember one gentleman in particular who said he's been retired for 6 months and now he lost about 40% of his assets and he has to go back to work. So my first thinking, of course, thinking as a financial advisor, is number one, either he was ultra greedy or he had some very poor advice. Now, you feel bad for them, but I think that is greed at that point in time. As you know, we've got to lean a little bit more to the liquidity side and a little bit more the conservative side the closer we are to retirement.
And it's hard, as you know, with everything else you read and hear about is about offense, how to grow your money. It's hard for the average investor to know what you're talking about. But Doug, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely.
And you stay with us here. We'll be right back with more on the Income Generation. I'm David Scranton.